It might be about that time. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if I have anything to say that can make anybody feel better right now. Because it seems like the Cowboys defense just continues to get worse. This was just that air's a little thin up there in Denver, the Mile High City. Tough to breathe up there. And apparently that's an excuse to forget how to play with pad level and effort. It's hard to wrap your mind around how bad this defense is. But it's even worse whenever you sit here and consider that this is still a championship caliber offense that's also just going to get wasted. Okay, so here's where I'm at. 9 yards per carry. Y'all going to talk about firing one guy. Christian Herrera in the house says not much to say, just the defense is too far gone. It seems that way. We'll say fire one guy, but my mentality right now is get everybody out. Why do my $20 million players seem as if they've never played football before? Nine yards per carry. What did they finish with today? Box score. It was 9 yards a carry before it became pointless for me to watch when my daughters couldn't wait for me to get outside and play with them. About 8 or 9 minutes or so. Whenever Joe Milton entered the ball game, that was conceding defeat. That's when I conceded watching. Denver rushing. 6.4 yards per carry tonight. So you know what the most damning indictment is, and you guys probably haven't heard anybody say this yet, and it's going to make you feel worse real quick. And then I'm going to give you a couple of things that aren't necessarily going to make you feel better. Maybe they will, because it's just it's speaking, it's talking with a level head. Because really, nothing that happened today is anything that we should have been surprised by. Okay, so you got that going for you. We'll get to that in just a second. Okay, so the cons, why this is infinitely worse. And yes, altitude's a factor, but it's not an excuse. There's no reason that you're getting dog walked against your will to the tune of, at the time, for the important parts of the game, the first 3.5 quarters, approximately 9 yards a carry. There's no reason a guy who has the lowest completion percentage in the entire National Football League throwing the football down the field 20 plus yards or more, 32%, I think is what it was coming into this week. All of a sudden, he's Mr. Efficient, 19 to 29, which is not the greatest efficiency, right? But it's still 4 touchdowns in his sleep after he had already thrown a pick to start the football game off. And it's not just that he threw for 4 touchdowns, it's that guys were once again, it was explosive plays, but guys explosively wide open. Let me get I don't think my audio is actually coming through the microphone real fast. Let me fix that for you guys. Make the overall experience a little bit better than the Cowboys defense was, right? So here's the thing where I'm at, right? And that should be better audio. Test, test, test. Mic check, mic check. Change has to come. So if there's any sort of silver lining here, it's that this cannot continue with the same personnel and or coordinator. Something's got to give at some point. So if that's any sort of, there's shouldn't be a consolation prize, but if it gives you something to look forward to, right? At the very least, it's going to be entertaining. There's going to be stuff to talk about. Okay. So now let me also just lighten the mood just a little bit. Before the game, I mentioned something along the lines of this is going to be a heavyweight fight, one of the best, arguably the best defensive ball against the league's number one offense, both of which possess the ability to play with power and physicality. A heavyweight fight, get your popcorn ready, a significant, I think I said of critical importance or significance for the Cowboys for the NFC playoff race, the picture in totality, but then also too for forcing the hand of your front office to go and be aggressive before the November 4th trade deadline. You could absolutely paint the picture if you wanted to, that there's 2 ways where something gets done in rather aggressive fashion. One of those ways is, hey, you go and win, obviously, right? And one, trending this way, everything's still in front of you. But now you're 3-4-1, and you're still not out of the race completely. But now it's so bad that you have to actually question, okay, can one big swing do anything? Can it really change? Is this defense really too far gone? So here's the answer. The answer is actually no, it's not too far gone. Or let me just say this. Under this coordinator, it seems to be getting worse. So maybe that is the case. Maybe it is too far gone. But let me just, in my mentions, I'm seeing some of these same questions, right? So this is where my head first went. One player, somebody said to me, one player can't make this team better. When the Cowboys are the best example of, and Albert Breer tweeted this at the time of Micah's trade, the Cowboys are the number one defense in terms of EPA per play, expected points added per play. It's a metric that calculates, it just factors in a multitude of different data points and says, okay, this is how good you are. It's not everything, but it's a strong indicator of something, right? The Cowboys were the number one EPA per play defense in Micah Parsons' career when Micah Parsons played football, when he was active on the field, participating, right? They were the 32nd ranked defense in football during Micah's tenure in Dallas when he wasn't. So one player can clearly have an effect, an impact. A player like Micah Parsons, Myles Garrett, Max Crosby, those are game changing. Those are unit altering pieces. Those are game breakers, right? So in theory, yes, one guy could change, but now you just have to factor in, okay, with that in mind, the front office has to evaluate, okay, we are roughly 4 or 5 significant contract extensions in to this this current roster as it's presently constructed, right? All of which pretty much line up under contractual control through the 2029 calendar season. So where my only pushback is for those that say, "Hey, keep the picks because this season is a waste, it can't get better." My pushback is, why does Max Crosby have to be from the equation in 2027? Or excuse me, 2026 and 2027? Why would Quinnen Williams have to be eliminated from the equation in 2026, 2027? Why would George Pickens have to be eliminated from the equation in 2026, 2027, and beyond, right? Why would the DK Metcalf? Oh, that's Deshaun Elliott. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm keeping tabs on this Steelers game. The Steelers team, by the way, it's fascinating. I talk about this on Instagram. I did a short form project on it the other day. Actually, I guess it was a week or two ago. They have leaned into some of the things that we've discussed all offseason long. It predates to right before the draft in April when I was having, there was a lot of polarizing thoughts and coming at me for saying or suggesting even remotely that the Cowboys should absolutely consider an offensive lineman at 12 overall because of just the trends, tracking the trends in the National Football League and what the modern defense does, what they present as a result of the way that they're presently constructed, which is all, it plays off of them countering the modern spread, right? Getting basically faster, lighter, and more multiple on the defensive side of the ball so that they could keep up with teams who deploy 3 and 4 wide receivers throughout the football game and play with tempo and all those things, right? So the Steelers, though, my point was that the Cowboys hadn't had any issues really with their skill positions as long as Dak was healthy. They were pretty competent offensively. I think they were, you just look at it, the last half decade, over that 5-year stretch, no offense in the regular season is putting up points more consistently than the Cowboys were. So the thought process was, all right, you got to figure out a way that you can to run the football too. And the Steelers are the classic example. They're the epitome of leaning into countering the modern defense with size, physicality, and a run heavy approach. Like they literally deploy 3 tight ends pretty much. That's their base offense. And teams have trouble with it because they outweigh you. They out physical you at the point of attack, and they commit to the run, and they assert themselves on the ground. And it's really interesting. Teams struggle to counter that personnel because it's 3 tight ends. It's 5 offensive linemen, a physical rushing attack, and then 3 tight ends that all go, on average about probably 270 if you really factor in Darnell Washington, who's 300. He's damn near, he's OT3 on the field when he's out there. But then the one receiver that spends most of the time, the lone receiver that gets the most action is DK Metcalf, who goes 225 in his own right. So even the smallest guy on the field at the skill positions, or at least at the pass catchers, is still arguably the most physical football player in the league at the receiver position. So it's an interesting offense to watch, man. They are definitely ahead of the curve, or at least leaning all the way into, hey, physicality beats the modern defense because of they're lighter, they're more multiple, they're hybridized, they're faster. You don't really out east to west defenses anymore. Can't outflank them. Yeah, you got to attack them physically first and then play off of that. And so the Steelers are doing that. And it's interesting to watch them play ball control and play heavy and physical. So just keep tabs on that if you guys want to watch a completely different brand of football. Now, so this is a question here. Slim Pickens says, if I really want a Super Bowl, should I roll for us to tank? So that's the thing, right? Tanking doesn't guarantee anything. Okay, so I could spin the narrative back at you if you say, all right, one player trading for a player now doesn't solve in on this defense, then why would tanking for one player in the draft, a rookie nonetheless, why would that change anything either? We still have to factor in the reality that the Cowboys have a lot of money invested, a lot of talent, especially on the offensive side of the ball, but a little bit on the defensive side of the ball too. That all lines up through the 2029 calendar year. We got to think about those things, right? So I would say if I really want a Super Bowl, should I root for us to tank? I would say no, because the draft is no guarantee. It's no simple solution. There's no easy fix. Like, people saying, "Hey, hold on to your draft capital." That's the next point. It's not that Max Crosby or whoever your preference is on the open market right now or on the trade market right now. Whoever it is that you out there feels most strongly about coming in and helping this defense, why are they pigeonholed into only helping them this year? Even if you agree that this team, this season is unsalvageable because the defense is that bad, then why do we automatically have to eliminate next year from the equation too? If I can guarantee myself, if one of those first round picks or one of my twos or just a package of picks guarantees me a proven product, and I know what my offense already is, I replace the coordinator. I get DeMarvin Overshown back. I also get a big time asset that is a proven commodity, a difference making commodity on the defensive side of the ball. Why do I have to eliminate next year from the equation too? Right? Does that logic make sense? Austin says, I mean, that's a pretty level headed take, man. Honestly, if we don't make any moves, then this season is done, which is fine. Just excited to know either way so that I can chill on zero expectations. Yeah, that's fair. So, okay, so Christian, that's a perfect point. So I didn't even see your comment until I just said what I already said. Why go use those picks now? We're so far away from a few players fixing this defense. So the difference is why use picks now? Why not? Would be my spin. And I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Okay. Because the reality is that you can't guarantee me that two rookies solve it next year either. If you're relying on rookies, you're going against verifiable evidence that suggests that most rookies do not contribute. But if they do contribute, they're not difference makers until at least year two. So if we're holding on to our ones, then we're still 2 years away. And by that point, we're talking about renegotiating with everybody that we've already currently got extended. That includes Dak. That includes CD. That includes who else? Deron Bland. That includes Jake Ferguson, right? So all those guys, like Dak's got an out after 2027. If we're relying on rookies, if we're quitting right now, which is still interesting to me because we weren't ready to quit 2 weeks ago. We, as in the fan base, right? And then last week, you have a little bit of success defensively. You you lean away from what you tried to do, what you just pounded your head against a cement wall over and over and over again with weeks 1 through 6. And you go from 11% man coverage to 47% man coverage in week 7. Last week, the Commanders. We weren't ready to quit then, but we already knew this defense was historically bad. You guys were, I say you guys, I had people everywhere. Cowboys Nation was flooded with the opinion after week 2 when Russ went crazy. Fire Flus. Firing Flus is to suggest that things can still get better because they can. One player, as Micah Parsons has already proven to us, and not just this year, We don't know what he would have like. We can't say for sure. And let's be fair, right? We can't. We don't know what Micah Parsons would have done for the Matt Eberflus version of the Cowboys defense. We don't. But what we do know is that one player is capable of you're having a 31 position swing in terms of total team defense. EPA per play, when Micah Parsons is on the field, the Cowboys are number one in his career. When he's off the field, they're 32nd. So one guy can clearly make a pretty sizable impact. But my question is, it seems as if, right, Brian Schottenheimer, as a result of easy buttons on offense, is maximizing every average or replacement level player that we have. We can go beat the Jets with 4/5 of our starting offensive line missing. Because the coordinator puts the offense in positions to succeed. Physicality, misdirection at the snap, at the mesh point, getting the ball out quick, playing with great pad level. Those types of things breed success, and success breeds confidence. This defense clearly has none. But we weren't ready to quit last week. We were saying trade, 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 trade. Go get, go get, go get. Bring somebody in, bring somebody in. Why does this week change that? It's one game. 3-4-1 doesn't eliminate you from playoff contention. Not in a 17-game season. The Cowboys would have to lose 5 more. So they're 4 losses now. They'd have to lose, 5 more games to be on the outside looking in. Actually, so that they have a tie, so it would be 4 technically. They'd still have to lose 4 more games to consider themselves completely out of the picture. Exactly. So Santiago, is it Santiago? He's talking my language. That's what I'm saying, guys. I know today was bad. There's no excusing that. Embarrassing levels of effort and competence on the defensive side of the ball. You may not be able to recover from it. But all I'm saying is I'm looking past this year because of the way that the roster is currently constructed. And I agree with this. No questions asked, in my opinion. George Pickens has proven enough that he is an elite receiver in this league that can make a difference. No doubt. No doubt about it. Now, Shoddy, I want to be honest. Let's have an honest discussion. Is Shoddy innocent today? Throwing the football and they got too cute. Where's my guy that averages 5.5 per carry this season? 3rd most rushing yards through 8 weeks of any cover. Javonte Williams. He can't go and choose physicality first for me in a revenge game against his former team. Go kicked him to the curb. That dude can't get me 1 yard on 3rd and 1. We knew coming into this match that strength of the Broncos was their 2 Benito and Patrick Surtain, who's going to almost all but eliminate your number 1 weapon. Then you better go and attack Rob Moss if you want to have a chance. That's exactly what teams have done or tried to do all season long. But a team that has had success running the football all season long, chooses, situationally speaking, in the most obvious moments when you want to go and run it, to not run it. Did y'all forget? Did Shoddy forget that Dre Greenlaw didn't participate in this football game? And the last time that that defense saw a competent rushing attack, granted it was in Indianapolis as opposed to Mile High Stadium in Denver, a little different altitude. That's a factor, guys. Let's be real. Okay, but still, the last time Dre Greenlaw and the Denver Broncos defense saw a rushing attack, like the Cowboys aren't quite as like Jonathan Taylor's obviously a better player than Javonte Williams. I'm not trying to like don't get that twisted, but they're philosophically the way that they attack you on the ground, it's very similar. Last time Dre Greenlaw didn't play against an offense of this caliber, Jonathan Taylor had over 200 all-purpose yards against that defense because they committed to running the football against that front. And you know how they did it? I broke it down on my Instagram about an hour before the game began. My son was born this past week, and I could have spent the time breaking this matchup down and talking it all up and devoting countless hours and sleepless nights towards giving you guys the best product I could possibly come up with to creatively convey, hey, here's the reality, here's what's going on, here's how we attack Denver, here's how Denver has had success all season long, here's how they might attack us, those types of things, right? I could have done all those things if I wanted to. I chose to kick back a little bit more this week than I have. It's really been the last 2 weeks because we had a couple false alarms of labor. And so I just chose to soak up the newborn baby bliss and kind of just take it easy this week. But I had to get at least a little bit of thoughts out there. And I did so an hour before the game in the way that, just kind of conveying what happens with no Dre Greenlaw, but especially how to attack those Ferraris coming off the edge for the Broncos. You run right at them. Power run game to the edge because Franklin Myers, Malcolm Roach, just a multitude of rotational powerful players on their defensive that know how to play the run. Anchors up there. Zach Allen. I know there's another guy or two that I'm forgetting. We didn't see a ton of that. There seemed to be a lack of commitment. Dak's not innocent either. He made a dumb decision trying to force the football up the seam to Jake Ferguson to end the first half. Trying to just make a play, make something happen to get some points on the board. He was hunting six, and that's one of the things that you love about Dak, the fearless nature of him, not just accessing and attacking the middle of the field regardless of who they're playing, but just constantly an optimistic arrogance to his game where he's like, hey man, I'm gonna make something happen here. But he doesn't have that philosophy. He probably doesn't force that throw if he's not sitting there on the sideline watching his defense get absolutely dog walked. So here, I realized I didn't even make the punchline earlier. Here's the ultimate indictment of this defense. The Broncos offense at the point of attack is strong. They know how to run the football. They're pretty good at it. All right. But when teams can match up physically, hat for hat, play with the right pad level and the right effort, they bottle them up. Because what the Broncos don't do is manipulate eyes at the second in their run game. You don't see a lot of at-snap motion. You don't see a ton of misdirection with their approach. Tonight, we saw a bunch of wide zone just getting gashed and outflanked. Guys getting creased. Nope. People late their C-gap run fits. Very simple. Hey, we're going to reach, we're going to pass, and we're going to crease. And then it's a track meet because you ain't ready for it. Right? But they don't manipulate eyes like teams like the Commanders did a week ago. The way that teams like the Packers do with their run game. Against the Commanders, you jump from an average of 11% man coverage and a very low blitz rate, weeks 1 through 6, to a 40% man coverage rate and a relatively high blitz rate, about 50% of the time. You're sending more than 4-man pressures. Now, get it. When you're giving up 9 yards carry on the ground, it's to have situations where you can dial up blitzes. That ain't necessarily on Flus. But what is on Flus is not loading the box once again. And playing a lot less man coverage than they did. I mean, when you're that bad with, communicating and zone coverage and even not very in the middle of your defense, and you got Clark that's banged up with an elbow injury, and you got Oso Digizua who's undersized as a 3 tech. He's more of a penetrator. All these things. Help him out with numbers, man, and be aggressive. Force Bo Nix, who we know has a propensity to make bad decisions and put the football in harm's way, which he did on the opening drive. Capitalize on that. There's blood in the water. Why can't they smell it? And why can't they go hunt it? That's on Flus, man. We're running out Trequez Bridges. We got Clark out there who's we got UDFAs on the field playing significant, meaningful snaps. But let's just ask them to not play hair on fire. Let's ask them to communicate when they haven't really. There's no continuity in the back end whatsoever. But we want them to communicate. We want to sag off. It's one thing to have a particular approach when you enter any particular matchup. But then when that approach fails and when you get gashed the way that this Cowboys defense did early on in that first quarter, make an adjustment before it's too late. The offense made an adjustment at halftime. You saw them go, okay, we're not condensing this formation anymore because it just invites more chaos. Our edges, our tackles clearly can't handle their edges. Unless it's short downs and distances and around the goal line, which they did a few different times and barely had success. We will not play in 12. We can't play in 12 personnel, 13, 22, 21, and have success. It doesn't work because they're more physical than we are. They chose physicality on Monday. And then prepared for it, prepared like this game mattered. It meant something to them all week long. Cowboys team wasn't ready to play. Slim Pickens, appreciate you being here, man. Have a great night. Thank you.
Yeah!
One time for my guy Slim. We got, who else we have over? Caleb says Dallas will win the games they're supposed to for the most part. They just can't overcome adversity and have no real playmakers to make plays on defense. No leaders on that side. My 5th highest paid corner better be a leader. And I don't understand it's not in everybody's DNA, but he better lead by example if nothing else. My $20 million 3 tech better lead by example if nothing else. My other $20 million 3 tech who plays a lot of 1 tech for this team, really good at stopping the run when he's healthy, but he's not because he's having to do too much. He did lead by example in Green Bay. And that locker room did feel his loss, his absence. They were sad to see him leave because of the relentless effort, the the way the professional nature in which he conducts himself on a day-to-day basis. Kenny Clark. But that's the thing. This Cowboys defense does way less this season with a very similar personnel or a similar group of personnel than in recent history. Like it's historically bad. So and it's still happening. If it's one thing if it's early on in the season and Eberflus wasn't necessarily prepared to not be able to generate pressure because he was planning all along trying to get guys to play more of a zone heavy defense, knowing that he was going to be able to get home with a 4-man pressure a lot more frequently with Micah Parsons in the picture. Sure, I'll give him a couple weeks to adjust and figure some things out, but we can't be halfway through the season still looking like the most incompetent defense that's ever played NFL football. Making Bo Nix beat you with his eyes seemingly closed. Guys averaging all over the place, 7 yards a carry. It was 9 yards per carry until about halfway through the fourth, when they lit their foot off the gas and stopped trying to actually crease and create and whoop you. Do y'all realize, right? We understand that league average on any given year, yards per carry is about 4.4. They were double that when the game was still technically within reach. Double. So there's a lot of things that I'm sure I'm forgetting. What do you guys think? I mean, am I making any sense at all? Lots going through my head right now, but once again, our run fits just they're not there. We got people playing patty cake instead of meeting people in the A gap, and it just seems like if everybody played with the same level of intensity that Brock Hoffman and Brevin Spann-Ford play with on the defensive side of the ball, like if we get some Perion Winfrey caliber energy over there, and I'm not even suggesting that Perion Winfrey makes his defense better, obviously, but that dude is at least he's gonna try to take everybody's lunch in the process of doing whatever he's asked to do, and do it with a borderline like that dude carries himself in a way that stone cold killers do. On the football field, Perion Winfrey is trying to kill you. I watched him walk over in training camp to all the kids. In their mind, this dude is, he might as well have been Myles Garrett. Dude didn't even so much, I didn't hear a single word uttered. That dude didn't even unbuckle his chin strap. He didn't care. He didn't care for anybody to know who he was or what he looked like. He wanted to go make a couple kids smile. But even that, he even did that with this. There's this energy that he walks around the football field with, where you just see it, you feel it. It is different. You watched Texas A&M play last night. Watch how their defensive line conducts themselves on the road. Death Valley, one of the most hostile environments in all of college football, arguably the most. I need killers on that side of the ball, that side of the line of scrimmage. I need it to matter to you. I need it to appear as if your livelihood and your family depends on it, because it does. You don't owe me that. You may not even know the teammate next to you that. You would like to believe that that's the case, but you owe it to your family, to yourself, play for the last name, if nothing else. If the star means nothing to you, do it for the last name, the name on the back of your jersey. Show me something. Little testicular fortitude one time. Set an edge one time. Why does it take? Why do I have to watch Dak fight for his life for 3 quarters before I even so much as see a rolled pocket? I feel like this is what's that movie called where the same thing keeps happening over and over again? Y'all know what I'm talking about? Okay, Matthew Jones. Let's get real. You want to get real? Christian Herrera, you want to get real? Let's get real. I kind of already touched on it. We can talk about it again. But first of all, I think there's the word day is in the movie. Not Judgment Day, not what's it called when it's like the same thing keeps happening over and over and over again, repeatedly. Somebody help me out. And while y'all are thinking about that, I'm gonna play you a quick little beat here. Is it Groundhog Day? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Caleb. Just like Groundhog Day. I'm watching the worst offensive line in terms of pressures given up in the entire Power Four. Talking college football right now for a second. Okay, I also covered Texas for those of you who did not know that. On behalf of Inside Texas as well. And that's right of your screen. You can see that logo right now, and you can subscribe to the best, most insightful inside panel of people and community of people on the market. For just $1 gets you free access. $1 gets you in for a week, and you also get a year-long subscription to The Athletic. So it's an almost unbeatable offer right now. If you're a fan of Texas football, you can go to InsideTexas.com and sign up today. Matthew says, Lando, I've been following you for a while now, and I trust your opinion. Do you think Crosby to Dallas could actually happen? So I have been one of the more outspoken individuals of anybody in Cowboys media or sports media or otherwise on trying to galvanize the fan base on accepting how much sense that move would make. It'd be a shot in the arm because we're watching this defense continuously get worse. They are quitting. They will quit if they haven't already, because clearly they don't trust what the coordinator is doing, what he's calling, the way that he teaches, the way that he maximizes each individual player, but also at them as a unit, as a whole. It's failing. It has failed. And it continues to get like there's no progress. If we take one step forward against the Commanders, we took 3 more steps back today. It's getting worse. So the time to act is now. If you make 4 moves where you're still trying to do everything that you can to maximize this season and not waste a historically good offense, that's what we have to keep in mind now. Okay. This isn't just a middle of the road, can't run the football all that well. We got one real true weapon, one playmaker at the skill positions. No, we got a quarterback that has a reputation of playing like an MVP. He's playing like that again. We've got a tight end who's leading the entire league in touchdown receptions and receptions in general. We've got 2 alpha dog receivers, like 1A, if you want to say that. That's fine. I'm cool with that. And then we got a guy who's 3rd in Cowboys history in rush yards through 8 weeks in the season.
The number one offense in football. Don't forget that. I don't want to waste that. I work too hard all offseason long, doing the best that I can for people like y'all, the 13 of you that are in here. Not that many. 85,000 on my platform, though. We got 13 in here that are lifers. When it could not be any worse. When we are at our season's low, because people all over the place, and rightfully so, are ready to quit. Because this defense has given you no reason to think otherwise. I get it. And I resonate with it. But we work too hard. We wait so long for football. All offseason, man. 3 long months before we finally get to start thinking about draft. So, it's the NFL really is that they do a decent job of keeping us entertained all year long, because it's regular season leads to postseason. Postseason leads to free agency. Free agency leads right into draft prep, or the combine. Combine leads right into the draft. The draft leads, there's a little bit of a break, but then it's like, okay, training camp is right around the corner. And then we rinse, repeat, do it all over again. I wait too long for real, meaningful football to be 3-4, albeit on the outside looking in, but 3-4-1. And just to say, screw it. Season's done. Let's start talking about the draft. I ain't ready to start talking about the draft yet. And even if I was, I'm the fool if I try to convince you. I want y'all to hear this one.
Guys, listen. Okay, what?
If I try to convince you guys that the draft is going to fix what I'm watching right now, I'm the fool. It's 2 years at best, in most cases, before rookies really start to have a true impact. Unless you're picking in the top 5, you're almost guaranteed to have to wait, to be patient before you truly see an impact. Almost guaranteed. Not always. You can get lucky. We're talking about saving four first-round picks. Let's save our picks. That's 2 years in advance anyways for 2 of them. At that point, I'm talking about walking away from, like, cutting my ties, eating a little bit of dead money, and starting fresh completely. 2 years down the road. Dak's in year 3 of his current extension at that point. CeeDee's in year 3 of his current extension at that point. Fergie's in year 3 of his current extension at that point. DaRon Bland's in year 3 of his current extension at that point. Shottie's in year 3 of his current extension at that point. Osa. Kenny's already probably gone. Jeffrey Simmons can't help me in 2026. Max Crosby can't help me in 2026. Quentin Williams can't help me in 2026. Demario Davis can't help me in 2026. Minka Fitzpatrick can't help me in 2026. That's worst case scenario. Do y'all realize nobody in the National Football League has more ammunition in round 1 over the next 2 years than the Dallas Cowboys do? Do you realize that if you didn't catch what I just said, the Cowboys are the only team with 4 first-round picks. Teams are going to be looking at them to do business with them. They got the most ammunition to make something happen. overspend a little bit if you have to. And you don't have to just spend ones to go and allocate talent. What does all in look like? Make sure y'all hit the like button, by the way. Send this to a friend. Retweet if you're on the Twitter side of things, so people can catch wind of what we're doing here. Trying to get to 10K before season's end on YouTube, but we're 85,000 strong on all platforms. And that's not by mistake. It's because I do my part, but then you guys do yours. Take an attendance today. F them picks, man. Listen, send this to whoever you got to send it to. Clip it, tag your favorite creator, tag your favorite insider, tag your favorite national media reporter or analyst. If you're saying save the picks now, you might as well cut everybody else that you currently have on your roster that's worth a damn. Because that's a loser's mentality. That's a fold. Give up on the top offensive football because you also have the worst defense. Does that make any sense? When I can't guarantee I could bust on all 4 of those first round picks over the next 2 years. I could miss on all 4 of them. Half this fan base already hates the University of Michigan just because of the way that their helmet looks. Because the Cowboys are 3 out of 4 busting drafting players in the top 2 rounds, or we'll see. Taco, Mozzie, Luke. Those, the 3 guys in the top 2 rounds. Y'all hate Michigan. Verifiable evidence. What we already know about how difficult it is to get your evaluation correct. And even when you get it correct, you got to dodge the injury bug. Even when you dodge the injury bug, you got to hope that your current coordinator, because you may be passing along coordinators at that point. The Cowboys rotating new guys in every year. Okay, Mozzie hasn't had any sort of continuity with his defensive coordinator since he's been in the league. That ain't a pass. I'm just saying, realistically speaking, you get everything right, but the coordinator, that piece that you got right, he don't fit anymore. So now he's useless because he's terrible in man coverage or in zone coverage. Trayvon Diggs, useless asset. The biggest complaint that I have, the biggest disconnect with this fan base and the front office is that the front office has them convinced that their guys are better than what the league says that they are. The front office has this fan base convinced that they can succeed by being one of the most penny pinching, least spending organizations in free agency, and then they can do it. They're the only team in the league that can only do it by only drafting and developing. And they try to convince you that their comp pick formula, where they're trying to constantly stockpile picks because they know that they're going to get them right. They're never going to bust. They're all going to pan out. 10 rookies every single year are going to make the team, and not just make the team contribute so that we can compete. They have us convinced that they got to save pie for the 10 rookies that the rest of the league don't care about anyway. 7 of those 10 rookies that you just drafted, 31 teams passed on at least 5 times in the draft. Think about it. I'm rapping a little bit right now. Hit the like button for me, man. Come on. It's one button. It's totally free. If you haven't subscribed already, the subscribe button is free too. Old heads in here who may not be familiar with that term, I know subscribe means money out of your pocket, out of your wallet on a monthly basis. That's not what it means here. All that means, subscribe, is support. That's all it is. Keep this content free by hitting the button. And just know that I appreciate you for it. I'm fired up right now. Because I hate the mentality. We're 3-4. We're effed. What? Are you? Should the Giants, who had 8 losses, both of Eli Manning Super Bowls, should they have just folded? Nah, we can't compete in the playoffs. We lost 8 games. Sorry. We're going to stop trying now. You're 3-4-1. The Giants won the Super Bowl 2 years in the last 2 decades. Within the last 2 decades, with twice as many losses as the Cowboys currently have. But let's save our picks because we think it sounds cool. It gives us something else to talk about. We have ammunition in the draft. For what? So that you can have a 40% guarantee that your evaluation is going to pan out? Why not take one of the picks or 2 or 3 and give yourself 1 or 2 or 3 guaranteed products? You could take 4 swings in the next 2 draft cycles at edge players. And the odds are that not a single one of them is going to even think about sniffing Max Crosby's rear end. Good luck finding a Jeffrey Simmons in the next 2 years. And if there is one, good luck being in a position to draft him. We talk about these first-round picks as if you're picking inside the top 5. Look at the Packers right now. Turn your damn TV on. That might be pick 32 for all we know. But now let's hold on to it because it makes us feel good. Because we're pissed off at the performance tonight that we're ready to tank an offense that's equally as good as your defense is bad. Can you make that make sense? Am I making sense? And that was my point a minute ago, Matthew. Thank you for reminding me. And I appreciate the compliment, by the way. Do you guys know? I don't know about you. All right. I've competed at a very high level. I had the good fortune, Lord willing. I was a professional athlete. I had a cup of coffee with the Milwaukee Brewers, for those of you who don't know that. All right. Then I bounced around in independent baseball. Not necessarily anything to be proud of. I got paid $1,200 a month to play baseball. Big deal. In Texas. All right. We were so bad for a stretch of my second season in independent baseball here at the Cleveland Railroaders in Cleveland, Texas. We had no chance of making the playoffs. I think at one point early on, before the halfway point of the season, we were like 12 games out of playoff contention. We brought in one former big leaguer, a guy that had big league time on a couple different stints, DJ Peterson, one of the best hitters I've ever seen. He shows up. This level of accountability, for one, because the guy who's made millions of dollars playing a game, a kid's game, who's now in your locker room because he's 33 years old and he's still trying to keep his dream alive. He had one shot in the bigs, and he should have got it. Dude was a threat to hit one 425 any single swing, any moment of the game. So not only did that boost everybody else's confidence, because we have all of a sudden we've got one of the best hitters in the league now on our roster, but just his mere presence in the locker room, the way that he carries himself, it holds every single player in that room to a higher standard. You don't lollygag through PFPs anymore. You don't lollygag through shagging balls for the hitters anymore. You don't lollygag through anything related to arm care, prehabilitation, rehabilitation. It's a shot in the arm to the entire roster, to the entire organization, when a player who's worth a damn shows up and says, I'm here. All right? And that's about as low of a scale as you could possibly consider in this discussion here. We're talking about the microscope that is the Dallas Cowboys, which is the world's most valuable sports franchise, where people like me broadcast to 85,000 and highlight everything that you do well, everything that you don't do well. This is the smartest fan base in the world. Not only is it the largest, it's the smartest because of sheer quantity and size. All right. Now, with that comes more bad apples. There's more DAs in this fan base too, because there's just more people in general. Right? It's just the laws of nature. The bigger your fan base is, the more likely you are to have a DA. But there's two sides of that coin. There's more smart people who are paying attention and who know the truth, who know that the salary cap or cap hell isn't real. Who know that this is a rare opportunity right now that's presented for the Cowboys. It's almost on I don't know if it's ever happened where an offense has been number one paired with another unit that's as bad as this Cowboys defense currently is. This is a weird spot. I get it. There's a lot to consider. But to me, it's organizational failure to not at least try, because you can't guarantee that the alternative, which is holding on to all the picks, is going to amount to anything anyway. And even if you could guarantee that it was going to amount to something, you can't guarantee when it's going to work. So what's the point? Why are we deferring? Why are we constantly deferring to the future? The Cowboys are lining up all their extensions saying now, 2029. And then guess what happens? Y'all follow me. Y'all know this. We talk about this. What happens in 2030? Somebody put it in the chat real quick while I go take a leak, and I'll be right back and we'll get up out of here. We'll have our closing remarks. About to pee my pants. Be right back. Do we know what happens in 2030? That's facts, man. The script is scripting. Joseph, Cool Joe says, speaking facts. Thank you, man. Appreciate you. At the point of no return with this roster. What does that mean? What is your message? I forget. I'm not indicting you whatsoever. I'm just looking for clarity here, Joey. Appreciate you chiming in, man. Joey's with it. How many other people are with it? There's 4 moves that still should inspire hope, if nothing else, right? This is bare minimum. You do get a little bit better with DeMarvion Overshown on the field, I believe. It's foolish to expect him to overcome everything that is currently plaguing this team. But that, in theory, is a shot in the arm, assuming he's 100% of his pre-injury self, which, once again, no guarantee. But let's assume that he is, just because of the way that dude's wired, right? A little bit different, you know? I know you guys know what I'm talking about when I say that. So let's assume, okay, Debo, that's an upgrade. All right, that gives us a level of playmaking ability in the middle of the defense. Savon Revel Jr. is at the very least, he raises the floor of your coverage ability. He's the first round caliber competence. A little bit of rookie growing pain, sure. But, he can at least not give up wide open touchdowns seemingly on every other deep drop or drop back. Right? He's competent in coverage. That's 2 moves. Maybe you have to pull the trigger and you have to fire the coordinator because it seems like this defense just keeps going backwards. That's 3. That could inspire confidence. Could be a shot in the arm for a defensive unit that's not nearly as bad as they're showing currently. And guys, we have to remember, we're not trying to go from 32 to 1. You don't have to get to 1 because of how good your offense is. You just have to be middle of the road. Micah Parsons has already shown us that one player can, in theory, technically, make a 31 team jump in your defensive EPA when he's on or off the field. Go look at the splits. I'm not making that up. Okay? So that's 3. We got Demo, and this is optimistically speaking, maybe only 2 of them work. Maybe only 2 of them hit. Maybe 3 of them do. Maybe 1. But one guy has already proven it to us, and Max Crosby is of the similar tier as Micah. Better in the run, not quite as lethal as a rusher. Quinnen Williams, same discussion, Jeffrey Simmons, Minka Fitzpatrick, Demario Davis, whoever you like. Choose your flavor. One of those guys or 2 comes in here. Demo is a shot in the arm. Savon Revel Jr. elevates the floor of your defensive back room, your corners in coverage. Whoever the incumbent coordinator, interim coordinator is that replaces Eberflus in the event that there's no other choice but to get rid of this guy. Working, he's stubborn. The defense is quitting on him. All these things, A change of scenery can be good, but a different voice can be equally as powerful for athletes. Okay, I'm also a living, breathing example of that as well. I've dealt with some of those things. The guy that recruited me to Abilene Christian University was gone before I ever showed up on campus. I didn't have anybody fighting for me at that point. I was kind of there just participating on a team that had guys who were like pledging for some reason when the fraternity that you should have been interested in was the one that you were participating with on the baseball field. That's a fraternity of its own. We had guys that were rushing and pledging and like all this, Greek life stuff. You ain't focused on playing baseball if that's the case, right? But that's besides the point. I go somewhere where I'm wanted, and all of a sudden, the game becomes easier. There's less pressure. I'm having more fun. I'm enjoying the game because coach believes in me. Coach is using me. He's deploying me in a fashion that best suits my skill set. I'm not having to walk in with any sort of anxiety or whatever. Just carry this chip on my shoulder and try to be proving my coach wrong and carrying a bad energy, a bad attitude anytime I step into the locker room or just being an energy vampire for my teammates because I'm not getting the love that I felt like I deserved. It's foolish. It's in some sense it's selfish, but it's primitive human nature. Like going where you're wanted, where you're best utilized, where somebody believes in you, man. That could mean all the difference. Play a little bit more man coverage, Load the box one time. Take a risk one time. Stunt a little bit more. Let's mix in some gap exchanges. We get burned. But at least we're dying swinging a sword, We're dying anyway. But this current philosophy, what we're currently watching, the Cowboys are dying while backing up. They ain't dying attacking on defense. So that's just where I'm at. Zion Childress is actually currently with the Houston Texans, my friend. That's why we saw Trequez Bridges and Reddy Stewart today. Childress was waived for Eberflus's preference at nickel, Reddy Stewart, right before the season began. And then there was one of the roster manipulation move that occurred that brought Trequez Bridges in. It was either the same day or the day after that Reddy Stewart came on. Zion Childress was reasserted onto the Cowboys practice squad, but then did something happen to Josh Jacobs, by the way? I haven't seen him in a minute. They brought Reddy Stewart back onto the Cowboys practice squad, and then he was poached by the Houston Texans a couple weeks ago. Did they bring him back again? No way. Did I miss that? I had a whole project devoted to him, man. Right before the season, he and James Houston, I did a little special feature on that. The title of the project on my channel was, it was the most significant Dallas Cowboy that you've never heard of. And it was a 2-part series. It was Reddy and Zion. Wow. Okay. I missed that. Good call. Damn. Okay. Well, good for him. That fires me up. So then look, there's a fifth option then for a shot in the arm. If we're talking about that, that's a guy, guys, that is a nickel corner. I'm going to make, I trust y'all. Obviously, I just want to pull it up. I want to see like who broke the news and all those things. Sure enough. That's cool, man. That makes me happy. So yeah, it absolutely can't hurt. But what I love about Zion, an undrafted free agent, sub 200-pound nickel corner, sticking his nose in there in the A gap, trying to blow people up, doing the dirty work in the trenches, man. When you're a nickel corner, you're asked to do some of those things anyway. I mean, you're playing in the box, like really. But not only are we seeing it, we're seeing Shotty talk about it. An undrafted free agent gets street cred from the head coach at the podium because of how physical he is. We wrote about that at the time, athlonsports.com. Just tracking how much Shotty really does pride himself, his team, his philosophy as a coach upon physicality. That's a dude that gives you a shot in the arm because he ain't scared. He's playing like it matters. He's playing like his life, his livelihood, the last name on his back that we referenced earlier. If nothing else, it matters. Reputation on the line. Job interview every time I step on the field, man. Somebody's watching. So yeah, let me see Zion. It can't get worse. Give me 11 guys on the field. Once y'all, I just talked about the Perrion mentality. Zion Childress is the guy that also embodies that. Give me 11 Zion Childresses out there. Give me 11 Perrion Winfreys. And I'll take my chances. Because I know that those guys are going to make a decision to be the enforcer. No patty cake for those fellas. Perrion Winfrey ain't going to even so much as unbuckle his chin strap when he signs autographs for a 7-year-old fan who thinks he might as well have been the greatest player on earth. Perion don't care if you know his name or what he looks like. Strictly business. So. When realistically, let's just finish here, could moves be made? Obviously, the November 4th deadline, that's the trade deadline. That's when things are going to have to be done by in terms of outside acquisitions. Okay. You probably fire your coordinator just before, I guess it would be week 10. The Cowboys bye week is what? They're 2 weeks away now? Let me make sure I'm not crazy. It's crazy, man. That it makes sense why I missed that news. The Zion Shields report. My son was born on Tuesday, and it's just been kind of chaos over here in the best way possible ever since. But that actually really makes me happy to hear that. Let's see. Yes, we got So the bye week is next week, right? So we got Cardinals coming up next Monday night. That's a mini bye, and then you got a full bye after that. A lot of changes can be made. A lot of injections right here can happen. Cooper Beebe, DeMarvion Overshown, Savon Revel Jr., whoever you want to name in the open market, all those guys could be back by the time the Cowboys play the Raiders on November 17th. And one extra guy on top of that could be gone. And you know who I'm talking about when I say that. 5 individuals, almost half four, because Cooper Beebe obviously is the center. He doesn't play on that side of the ball. But that's 5 people that could really change the trajectory. Change the outlook, change the energy, change the effort in the locker room, and ultimately the course of this season. 3-4-1. Does anybody here in their right mind think the Ravens are out of the picture? Or do you think that the Ravens are considering themselves out of the picture? Are they folding right now? At 2-5 with Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, DeAndre Hopkins. Pretty damn good with somebody who can at least create just a little bit. And Tyler Huntley today. Find ways to move the chains and keep your offense on the field and not be a stat. I still don't understand. Nobody will ever be able to make that make sense to me. Why that organization thought that the way that offense is constructed, the way that they run their system with Lamar Jackson, to have a guy like Cooper Rush come in there and try to spell him and have any sort of identity that even remotely resonates or resembles what they have with Lamar Jackson. It could not be a more polar opposite situation. Don't know what, I can't explain that. But they got it right today. Tyler Huntley kept them alive. 2-5. They're alive. Trust me. You better make damn sure. We better understand that at 3-4-1, regardless of what you think, the Cowboys aren't out of it either. And I know Dak Prescott, George Pickens, and CeeDee Lamb aren't sitting over there on the sideline talking about quitting. That much I can guarantee you. So if that in and of itself ain't enough to make somebody second guess holding on to some picks, then there's nothing else that I can say. Because anybody, 11 Jeff, hold on. That's insane, Caleb. Yo. Hold up, man. That's crazy. Let me get a one time for my guy, Caleb. That's oh my gosh, man. That is hilarious. Shout out to Jeff Heath. Yeah, Cam, I appreciate you, man. So when to expect a move? If they're firing a coordinator, it's going to be next week. Not going to be this week. Why? I mean, unless the locker room is that fractured, unless they got everybody having meetings behind the scenes with Shotty saying, "Hey, man, listen, this ain't gonna work. If we're gonna salvage the season, we got to make a move now." We'll see. All week long, we'll be breaking down guys that make sense, man. We'll have more information prior to the November 4th deadline. Things are going to continue to trickle in. She shouldn't quit on the season at 3-4-1, the number one unit on one side of the ball. But even if you did, you damn sure shouldn't give up on 2026 and beyond as well. That's where I'm at. I hope that you guys understand, appreciate that perspective, and are willing to share it on my behalf. That's all I got, man. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Still half a season of football left. I, for one, we work too hard to not, at the very least, just enjoy it. If we have to spend the last 8 weeks only just talking about the good things, just appreciating guys who don't quit, who are fighting, snap in, snap out, giving everything they got, we'll do that. If the Cowboys keep losing, it is what it is. Still going to try to find a way to enjoy this thing. And then, if and when the time comes, we'll obviously start talking about free agency and the draft and so on. And the show will continue. The soap opera, the 365-day per year circus will continue. But now's not the time to start thinking about next year. Not yet. Especially when you have more first-round capital and the second most salary cap available. Anybody in the entire National Football League. There have never been less excuses to send it. All I got. Hit the like button for me if you haven't already on your way out. Tell a friend where to find the Sports Below the Surface truth for the true fan. I'm Lando from The Lando Show. And remember that look at me. It's been a day. It's been a weekend. Watching Texas try to survive a 17-point fourth quarter deficit and come back, win in overtime for the second weekend in a row on the road in the SEC. Fourth consecutive game away from home in the SEC. They won 3 out of 4. Sky ain't falling for them either. Every reason to quit. Down 17 in the fourth quarter to a team that hasn't won an SEC game in 15 straight and hasn't won at home in the SEC in 3 calendar years. They didn't give up. No reason that the professionals in the same sport should do the same. And I know one side of the ball won't, because I know how one guy is wired, and I know how his surrounding personnel fight for him, how they fight for each other. Remember, the prayer changes things and the war's already won. Talk to you guys soon.